Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thanks for joining us today. We'll start out by talking women's basketball with head coach Scott Ballard. And coach, it was kind of a disappointing weekend for you. Two really good teams that you faced off against, and I know that kind of some of the problems that you had last weekend carried over to this weekend.
Well, we knew that was going to be a tough trip, and we also knew that we're getting into the teeth of our schedule as far as playing the better teams. A few things have kind of piled up on us all at the same time. One, the weekend before when we played Duluth and St. Cloud, those were the three top defensive teams in the league, and it wasn't surprising that shooting percentages would be lower than normal or what you'd had leading up to that. And they were low-scoring games for the most part. Well, then this next weekend following that, which was last Friday, Saturday, we're playing the two highest-scoring teams in the league. And so we knew that we needed to put more points on the board, but we didn't. I say that against Wayne, they play a really good zone. They're big. It was a physical game. But things were kind of compounded and made more difficult for us in short notice. After shoot-around on Friday, we find out that Rachel Novotny was diagnosed with mono. So we find out we're not going to have her for a while. And we really hadn't had time to practice without her and prepare to play Wayne without her. And, we played some people out of their normal position. So it was challenging enough to play Wayne when you have everybody, but then when your game plan is kind of disrupted, it wasn't pretty. And I think we were down 15 or 16 at halftime, but we had a poor shooting game from the perimeter, and if you're playing against a zone, that's not a good match. But things got away from us in the middle of the third quarter, and we played a lot of our younger kids on purpose. But then the next night we played Augie, who is a high-scoring team. They scored 102 the night before we played them. They're averaging 86, 87 a game. And we played much better against them. We started Emma Fee in place of Rachel. And Emma had only played like 40 minutes the entire season, but she did well, and we got other people back in their normal position, and we shot the ball well at times, but overall, after the dust cleared, we still had a below 40% shooting game, and it was 50-46 at halftime. It was high scoring. At the end of the first quarter, they had 32 points, and Coach Worst and I were saying, man, they're on pace to score 128 points. They play fast. They hit their first 7 shots. It was just unbelievable how easy they made it look with the way they made shots. But we did well. We made a nice run on them in the second quarter, and we're only down 4 at halftime. Then in the third quarter, we scored 5 points. Same shots that we had the first half, we just didn't hit them. We were like 2 for 14. And against a team like that, you cannot have a 5 or 6 minute scoring drought, or a close game is going to turn into a double-digit deficit in a hurry. But we competed well, and I told our group after the game was over, we just need to get back home, regroup, refocus, and prepare with the people that we know that we have for this next weekend, which is at Minot and Mary.
Right. I want to talk about kind of the comeback against Augustana in that second quarter, because you were down by, I think, 19 points and then closed it to 4 points at the gap. So what are you thinking? What are you telling your team during the halftime break, and then after the third quarter happens and you don't quite execute the way that maybe you wanted to? What are your thoughts?
We executed. We just didn't make shots, and we only had 10 turnovers against them the entire game. We started 2 freshmen. We've got, basically 3 new people out there in the starting lineup from a year ago. But we did a really good job with our motion offense, and got to the free throw line more, in that game. For the weekend, we had 31 offensive rebounds, which is really good. Mm-hmm. But we've always told them if you have an off night shooting, then you've got to have more offensive rebounds and fewer turnovers. And we really did it against Augie. But they've got 6 seniors. They've had a lot of really good teams. I think their coach would agree that this is the best team that they've ever had. It may even be better than the one that went to the Final Four, 5 years ago or whatever. But they got 6 seniors, and you can tell they pass the ball better than any Augie team that I've competed against in 14 years. But they just got a lot of weapons, a lot of shot makers, a lot of experience, and a lot of depth.
So what happens this week now, coming into a week where you know that you won't have Rachel Novotny? What's with Gabby Dowd? Is she able to come back this week?
She started practicing yesterday, limited. So, you can tell that she's not played for 4 or 5 weeks. Conditioning, timing, execution, shooting. But Gabby's a competitor, and she brings an element of toughness and energy, and she's vocal on the floor defensively, which rubs off on other people. So we're hoping that she'll be able to give us some limited minutes this weekend and protect some people from foul trouble, and just give us some quality minutes.
So as a team in the post, then how do you plan for this week, and does anything change now that you have to put Emma Fee in for Rachel Novotny?
Well, I think what changes is that with Rachel, we got accustomed to her scoring 8-10 points a game and getting 8 or 10 rebounds a game, and she's a really good defender. She's long, gives us 5 more fouls. Emma gives us the 5 fouls, but she's not as long and doesn't defend as well with people out of the lane. But we'll use her strength and her size as much as we can to try to neutralize or match up with some of the big kids on both teams this weekend. But our guards need to shoot the ball better so that people can't gang up on Hannah.
All right, let's take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll get the player perspective, and we will be joined by Kayla Schaffer right after this.
Don't miss out on highlights and score updates from your favorite local college and high school athletics by following HBC TV 25 Sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get up-to-date information on all the games covered by the HBC sports team. Grab your smartphone and add us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HBC TV 25 Sports.
Over the last 30 years, Waukesha Construction Company has helped with the growth and beautification of numerous communities in the tri-state area. We strive to provide excellent customer service with a fair-priced bid on all projects. Our goal is to provide quality workmanship and excellent service in a timely manner. With an outstanding office staff, superior supervisors, and talented tradesmen to complete all jobs at the standard of excellence, our people are what set us apart. Visit WaukeshaConstruction.com for information and examples of past and current projects, or call 507-454-2707.
Hi, my name is Jason Hewitt. I'm a fiber optic field engineer for HBC. Since I started at HBC 9 years ago, I've been volunteering to help with the holiday lights in Winona in the downtown area. When looking down 3rd Street, it gives me civic pride knowing I help bring holiday cheer to local residents, businesses, and visitors to the area. Not only do we work here, we live here, and helping build our community is important to us because HBC is people in your community.
Welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25, and we're joined now by Kayla Schaffer, and thank you for joining us. You just heard Coach Ballard say the guards have to shoot better. You're a guard. Is it really that simple? I mean, what do you do this week in practice to maybe change the shooting percentages?
I've just been trying to get into the gym a lot. That's where I think it begins, and then just executing correctly in practice and becoming more confident.
So as Coach said, coming into the Wayne State game, you learn that you're not going to have Rachel. What does that do to a team when they find out, they've been practicing with somebody or you've been playing with Rachel all year long, now she's not going to be there? What does that do to you? Is that kind of some of the reason why the shooting woes happened against Wayne?
No, not necessarily. I mean, that's not all. I mean, every team goes through adversity at some point. Maybe not quite like what happened since it was very last minute. But, you know, that just other people on the team just have to step up and take that role. And we didn't have the best shooting night, but it's not just because Rachel was out.
Okay.
So.
Personally, then for you, you know, what do you want to do this weekend, and you know, what's your goal going into this weekend? Definitely
Win both games. I mean, that's always our goal. But we just needed to take care of business, and I think overall as a team we're a pretty young team, but that's no excuse. We just need to learn to play better and more consistent as a team all throughout all the 4 quarters, instead of just, you know, having a good quarter like we did in Augie where we came back in the second quarter, but then we had kind of a drought in the third. You know, we need to play a lot more consistent, and we'll get things done. All right.
Now, last year when you were on the show, we talked a little bit about your high school career, and one of the things that we mentioned was that you are your school's all-time leading scorer at Painesville. Yep. But we didn't really get into that too much. I look back again, and there's kind of a story behind that, because when you broke the record, the person whose record you broke was actually in the crowd. What was that like to find that out?
Well, I had no idea. It was a surprise at the end there. But it was a very good experience. I got to meet her for the first time. Very humbling experience, and it's just she spoke to me after the game a little bit about it and congratulated me, and she was happy to pass it on, and I hope that I can someday do that as well. So. You hope your record is broken? Well, I mean, it's always nice. I mean, it's a goal for the younger kids then, you know, to always, you know, there's a record in place, and you always want to try beating it. It gives someone a goal, and I would love to be able to be there for one of the other younger kids if they were ever to be able to do that too. All right. And you also played other sports in high school. I think you played softball as well. Yeah. Pitcher and a pretty good hitter, I believe. Talk about your softball career then. Was that kind of a secondary sport for you, or is that something that maybe you thought you might pursue later on? It was more of a secondary sport for me compared to basketball. However, I started playing Pee Wee baseball when I was in kindergarten. I could play in kindergarten because my dad helped coach, and then my older sister and I played. So it was me and my older sister Megan, and we played with all the guys. And we first started out where we always scrimmaged at practice, and we would pick teams, and we were always the last ones picked. And then as we got older, we started becoming one of the first couple ones to get picked. So that was kind of cool, but we just grew up with it. Both my parents played softball. All 4 of us girls played softball, and it was a fun sport for me on the side to do something besides basketball, and it came fairly easy for me as well. So what was the transition like then to switch from baseball then to softball? Was it kind of disappointing that you had to play a different type of game? I mean, I switched kind of I believe in 4th grade. So, I mean, when you're little, you don't notice things like that as much. But, I mean, when you go from baseball to softball, you know, the ball's a lot bigger. So, and it's a brighter color. So, I mean, I don't think I struggled too much. Also, I mean, we were considered fast pitch in 4th grade already, but it wasn't fast at that point. So. It was a pretty easy transition. All right, last question, just kind of a goofy question for me, because Connor Flack will join us later. His number is 25, your number is 25, we're 25 as well. Is there any superstition or anything with uniform number? No, I remember when I came to visit that they actually said that they had the number 25, which I thought was pretty cool. But no, when I was little, I wanted the number 33 because that was the same number as my cousin, but we didn't have it, and so 25, I believe I got in 7th or 8th grade, and I just stuck with it. Very good. All right, well, thank you for joining us here, and good luck the rest of the season. Thank you. We're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll talk men's basketball with head coach Todd Eisner right after this.
NASCAR racing is about a whole lot more than just cars going around a track. It's about people who drive, people who engineer, people who plan, people who know how to put it all together. Meet the people who make the cars go round every week on Raceline. Watch Raceline here every week.
Did he make that catch?
And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. Time now to switch to men's basketball and head coach Todd Eisner. And Coach, thank you for joining us here. Let's start with the bad game from the weekend first, I guess. Wayne State, 69-67. Just overall thoughts on that game first.
You know, we did enough to win and just didn't finish the game. I mean, we played, you know, pretty well. We led by 12 in the second half. We led by 5 with 2.5 minutes to go, and just didn't make plays at either end of the floor that we needed to make to finish off what would have been a good road win. And they hit a 3 with 25 seconds to go, and we didn't get the last shot to go down, and ended up with a tough loss. So
I guess it's a good time to ask this question. Is it better to be leading during the game and then have a game snatched away from you, or is it better to be trailing and then try to come back?
I think with our team, I think it's something that we need to take pride in is doing the things that we need to do on the road, both on offense and defense, to be in the lead late and then just be good enough to finish the game. So, you know, anytime you can be up 5 with 2.5 minutes to go, I think you'd take that. And, you know, we've been in a lot of close games here really in the last 3 weeks, and that was the one we didn't finish, but obviously thankfully turned around the next night and got the job done. Well, let's talk about the next night then, the Augustana game. Big three-point night for you. Again, we've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, that when you hit your threes, it's hard to stop you guys. 15 three-pointers in the game against Augustana. Just overall thoughts about that one first. You know, it was we really defended very well in the first half and couldn't score, and so it was 26-24, and really did a nice job, I thought, for about 15 of the 20 minutes in the first half of making their possessions difficult, and was really excited about our energy on that end of the floor. But then obviously turned around very frustrated that we weren't very good offensively, and then we waved the magic wand in the locker room at halftime, and unfortunately we cursed us and helped us. We were really good offensively and then didn't guard anybody, and so we got down 8 to start the second half, and then really got some things going offensively, both to the hoop, but mostly at the three-point line, and knocked down a lot of shots, and was a really good road win for us. So let's talk about the locker room. Are you pretty consistent with what your message is at halftime, or does it kind of change with the game? Well, it kind of depends on the game and the opponent, but again, as you get into this and 20 years into it, you still try to learn about yourself and about your team. And when we went on the Bemidji-Crookston trip, I didn't handle the Bemidji game very well, and really felt like I needed to make some changes as to how I approached the team if things weren't going well. So instead of losing my mind at halftime, not playing as well as we wanted to on the offensive end, I just really tried to talk to our guys about having confidence shooting the ball, being shot ready, and when they're open, shoot the ball, and trying to give them some ownership, but also continue to have them grow in their confidence. And I'm not saying that's the reason, but we certainly knocked shots down at a really high level throughout the half, shot 65% and made 12 threes. Yeah, you end up 50.9% against Augustana overall, 45% from 3. In one of those kind of weird stats that comes out after the game, when your team shoots 30 or more three-pointers in a game, you're 3-0 this season. Does that kind of give you any pause to say, well, maybe we should look more from three-point range, or is it just what the game gives you? Yeah, we're going to shoot 40, on Friday and Saturday this week. But I mean, it wasn't something that I was necessarily aware of. I knew when we made a lot of threes, we've been pretty good this year. But obviously, you're going to make a lot. You're probably going to take a lot. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. And I think where we become really good at the three-point line, because we do have really good shooters, really 1 through 5. Whether it's starters or guys coming off the bench. But we've got to get those off of guys making plays with the dribble, sucking in the defense and hitting people, in rhythm, and like I said, kind of being shot ready. And I thought we really did a great job of that in the second half, and got our guys some good, clean looks that they were more than capable of knocking down, and did that. Are you getting better at being able to suck in the middle there? Because I know that at times the post play has been some of the things that you said we need to get stronger at. Yeah, and and that's still something that we got to get better at. We don't have somebody we just throw the ball to with their back to the basket, and we feel like we're going to get a good possession out of that. So we've got to do it more out of not so much kicking it inside and kicking it out, but more so off the dribble and guards and perimeter guys driving the paint and sucking the defense in that way, and then looking for shooters around the arc. And Caleb did a really nice job of that in the second half, of dragging their bigs, kicking it out to Tommy or getting into the paint and finding open shooters on the perimeter, and that led to a lot of really good looks for us in the second half.
At least at Augustana, Caleb was the guy that got to the free throw line too. 11 times he was at the free throw line. Is that kind of your go-to free throw shooter?
Well, a little bit skewed. You know, he made some late. He got fouled late in the game in the last minute or so and got to the line, I think, 4 times in the last minute. So, but Caleb's someone that can put pressure on the basket with the dribble, and we just want him to be sound with his decisions. Caleb has a tendency to leave the ground a lot of times when he's making decisions, and some bad things happen that way. But, you know, he's just been tremendous, you know, really for us the entire year, and he's a guy that we count on to make some plays for us with the dribble.
All right, we got 2 or 3 minutes left in the segment, so let's talk about upcoming, another road trip for you guys this weekend. First, health-wise, how are you doing health-wise?
You know, injury-wise, we're doing better. I think, you know, Chuck and Mason are obviously, you know, getting back from the concussions that they both suffered previously, and so that was good to have them back. We've been dealing with a little bit of a flu bug. Corey Jeffs missed practice yesterday. Isaiah Walden, who's redshirting, missed practice yesterday, both with the flu. So we're trying to make sure that doesn't run, you know, the course of our team, because, you know, that wouldn't be good as we move onto the road trip up to North Dakota this weekend. So, you know, I mean, we're as good as we're going to be. I mean, at this time of the year, I think every team deals with injuries and illness and just kind of the trauma of going through a full season, and we're down to just 4 weeks left. So, you know, we'll try to figure out a way to try to save our guys' bodies and legs and minds as best we can here, so that they can be as fresh as possible on game day. All
right, well, you got the split on the road last weekend, and we talked about how difficult it is to play on the road in the NSIC. So what do you do this weekend to try to make sure that you get 2 wins this weekend?
Well, and that's one of the deals. I mean, your goal at the very least is to get a split, and selfishly you look back at this weekend and we feel like we should have got a sweep. But again, when you suffer the loss that we suffered on Friday, for our guys to bounce back, I thought showed a lot of character out of our group, to have some resiliency to make sure that we got what we at least needed out of the trip. And the same thing's going to happen this weekend. We play a very good Minot State team on Friday. I think they're 17-3. I know they only have 3 losses in the league, and 2 of them are to Northern State. They've got, you know, arguably the best player in the league, and Tyler Rudolph at the 4 or 5, depending on what position he plays on possession by possession. And so we'll have our hands full there. And then we've got to go to Mary, who just won at Bemidji and Crookston this weekend, which obviously we didn't handle that trip very well. So, you know, there's just never an easy one in the league, and we've got to figure out a way to take care of Friday first, and then wake up on Saturday morning being ready to go.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, Connor Flack will be our guest right after this.
Did he make that catch?
At Midtown Foods, we know it's not just about getting groceries. It's about friendly faces, fresh produce, quality cuts of meat, and experienced employees. We know because we shop here too. Midtown Foods, Winona's largest locally owned grocery store, downtown Winona.
HBC partnered with the Brian Robinson Real Men Foundation and K9 for Cops to bring a new K9 officer into Goodhue County. Not only do we work here, we live here, and helping build our community is important to us, because HBC is people in your community.
And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25, now joined by Connor Flack. And thanks for joining us, first time on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about you know, what we've seen as far as injuries. We talked about that with Coach Eisner, and you're one of the players that's kind of gone through some injuries, some back injuries. Can you kind of tell us, you know, what your injury is?
Well, in high school I had some back problems, I guess, and it was like a stress fracture in my spine, which has, I guess, troubled me through like my senior year of high school and freshman year, but since then it's been pretty good. And then last year I had a knee issue where I had to get it scoped, or like, yeah, arthroscopic scope I think it's called, and so that like only had me out 10 days, but this year I felt pretty healthy. for the
All
most
right.
part, which
And
is good.
some of these injuries are kind of flare-up injuries where you never really know what's going to happen to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so how do you kind of battle through that in practice and in games when you're kind of unsure of what your injury is?
I'd say I think Kelsey, my trainer, is able to just diagnose it and set up a decent plan for me to kind of do some rehab or possibly just after practice going in and icing and stuff like that, just to keep it settled down.
All right. When we get to talk to somebody for the first time, we always like to go back a little bit to kind of find some background information on you. And Lakeville North was where you came from in high school, and a very successful program. You ended up winning a state championship your senior year. Can you tell us a little bit about winning a state title?
It was my junior year.
Oh, junior year,
yes.
sorry.
But yeah, it was an incredible moment. Super fun. I mean, a lot of the credit goes to the JP on my team. He had 44 points in the game, and he's playing at Xavier now. But yeah, I mean, that was an incredible moment. I didn't hit me until a couple days after, how cool it was. But no, that was probably my highlight of basketball career in high school for sure.
Now, you say that he got 40 some points in that game, and he did, but you had a key play in that game as well, where I think you got a rebound, and I think you had a putback shot in that game that really saved the game for your team. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I think one of my teammates, Drew, was at the free throw line, and we were down by 1 after he hit a and 1 3. So he made the 3, and then we were down 1. And then, so he shot the free throw, he missed it, and I just got the putback, put it in, put us up 1 with 20 seconds left. So yeah, that was pretty big, and then we had to make it stop, and then we came down, got 2 more free throws, I think, and made another stop, so.
All right, and basketball wasn't the only sport that you played in high school. You're also a pretty good football player, too.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about your football career?
Yeah, I played football through senior year. I really enjoyed that. I was wide receiver, tight end, pretty much, and yeah, that was always super fun. But I guess I enjoyed playing basketball and basketball practice more and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it was definitely a highlight of my high school career as well.
Okay, what brought you here to Winona State then?
I would say I was before Coach got here, I was recruited by Zach Malvick, and I loved the town. It looked beautiful when he came down, and there's just a rich history here too of basketball, and I just thought it'd be a good fit.
All right, and it seems like it's been a pretty good fit for you here. Let's talk about this weekend. We've heard about how tough it is to play in the road in the NSIC. What do you guys need to do this weekend in a long trip again to keep yourself fresh and to get a couple of really good games this weekend?
I think we just need to start with having some good practices this week for sure, and our shot, to get 2 games on the road, I think we're gonna have to make our shots, but what Coach says, we gotta start playing more and better defense, and we're gonna have to especially Friday, I think we're gonna have to shut down other players besides Rudolph on their team, what Coach has said. Rudolph is gonna take his shots, he's gonna get his points, and I think we gotta shut down the other key players on their team.
All right,
for that game. And then Mary, I think we just gotta play a good game too. It's never an easy W on the road.
All right, last question, just kind of a silly question because both the player guests today wear number 25 and our channel is number 25. Is there anything with the uniform number? Because I think you wore 25 in high school. Is it a superstitious kind of thing?
No, it's not. It's just I just wore 25 since sophomore year. It just was my favorite one available. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you.
No, that's all right. We're glad that you have the number then. No. Thank you for joining us here, and good luck this weekend.
Well, thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining us here on Warriors Fast Break. We'll see you next time here on HBC TV 25.